this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at this acoustic blues composition, which you can play fingerstyle and with no accompaniment. So you can play this all by yourself, and it works on an acoustic or electric guitar. And it's a very percussive fingerstyle, so we're going to break that down. Actually, we're going to break down everything that I just played, note for note, and I'll explain all of that. I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the part 2 video, as well as download the tablature and have access to the on-screen tab viewer, which is interactive and a very cool way to learn, you can get all of that at ActiveMelody.com. Just for EP187. That's a lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with part 1. Alright, so let's start this lesson off by establishing the groove. And I'm going to start off with something very basic and simple that everyone can follow along with, and then I'll make a few adjustments to it, but I think that's probably the best way to start teaching this. So the groove that we're going to play here is I'm going to use my thumb on the open 6th string, that low E string, and I'm going to play that on the beat. So every time I say a number, I'm going to play that note. So here we go. If we're counting this out, you'd say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty easy. I think everyone can do that. Now you'll notice every time I said a number, I played the bass note, but you'll also notice that every time I said and, my hand came up here and clicked on the strings. Now I'm not punching it, I'm not aggressive. I'm just resting my hand on the strings to create that click sound. That's what gives it the percussive sound. And you'll notice throughout this entire song, every time there's an and, on all the and beats is where there's that percussive click. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I'm going to make one tweak to that, and that's on the second beat. I'm going to play it ahead of the beat. So it sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just the second beat. But if we're counting this out with 16th notes, we'd count it like this: 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So when I said after the 1 E and that's where I played the second beat. 1 E and 2 E and okay? So that's really the groove. Now that carries out throughout the whole song, that feel. And that's just by making that one tweak to the second beat, it gives it a whole different vibe. Okay, so now let's get into, hopefully you understand that, or you can at least follow along with the timing part. Let's get into what we're doing with the left hand. Actually, we'll start to put it all together. So I'm playing an E minor chord. I'm starting with that E minor chord in first position. So the first thing that I do, actually the very first thing that I did was I played this chord. This very Pink Floyd sounding chord. And I don't remember the actual name of this chord, but I'll show you how to play it. It's very easy. It's just the same thing as an E minor, but that second string here, instead of on the 2nd fret, we play it on the 4th fret 4th string. So our index finger is on the 2nd fret 5th string. It's just those two notes. And then you can play all the strings. It's a pretty cool sounding chord. It's kind of spooky, and I just played it backwards. I strummed up. Okay, so I started with that. Not sure why, but that was how I started. And then I went into this. So let's get into that. Now, I start that after I do this, the Pink Floyd chord. I'm going to play my thumb on the 6th string, and then I'm going to use the backs of these two fingernails to come down with my fingers and play strings 5 and 4 like this. So just those two notes sound like this. Now why am I doing that? Why am I using the backs of my fingernails? Well, I'm creating a little bit of a click when I hit that. As opposed to the flesh of your finger, you get no click, but with your fingernails you do. So it's 1 and, that's where the clicks are, always on the and, so that's why. It's kind of a frailing technique, I guess is what you call it. And then I come back to the 6th string. Now I'm going to pluck. I'm going to use those same two fingers on strings 5 and 4, and I'm going to take my hand off the fretboard, and I'm going to hammer on that E minor chord. So let's put those pieces together. Do it again. Now after I did the hammer on, there's another click. You could hear it. And after that click, I played the low 6th string again. and then I took my pinky, I kept the E minor chord, took my pinky and came up to the 3rd fret 2nd string and played that note. Now when I did that, I used these 3 fingers, my middle, index, and ring, on strings 2, 3, and 4 to pluck that part of the chord. Just those, and I'm pulling up on it. So let me back up and play up to that point. Okay, my ring finger comes up to the open 1 string. So after I hit that 1 string, did another mute, and then I went and slid up. I used my pinky there. Actually, you may want to use your ring finger for that. But I slid from the 3rd fret up to the 5th fret on the 2nd string, right here. So let's back it up. Now after that, I hit the low 6th string. Now follow this. This is where it can get confusing. If you got the tablature, that's going to be the easiest way to follow along with this, with that on-screen tab viewer. But for those of you that don't, just you're going to have to bear with me. Low 6th string, high 1 string. So, and then I'm going to play another mute, and then I'm going to hit just the open 4th string there, which is a D note. And that's to get us to the next part, which is the A minor part. Now I could have hit any of those notes. I could have hit really any string, because it's all, these notes are all in that minor pentatonic scale for E minor. But I think I tabbed it out that I hit that 4th string. So let's back it up and play that whole E minor part now. Let me do it slowly. Pretty cool, right? Oh, and I left out that note. Now we're going to go to the A minor. And for that, I'm playing an A minor. And then I'm going to take my thumb on the 5th string now. So now we're playing the bass notes as the A note. And then I'm going to play my index finger on the 4th string. And I do that little frailing thing with the A minor chord. So I'm hitting strings 2, 3, and 4. Whatever I can hit out of that. It's going to be a little different every time because I'm not super accurate with it. But that's what I'm trying to do. Is just as long as you're making the chord, you're going to hit the right notes. Like that. And then I play that low 5th string again. And then watch this. Very similar to what we did with the E minor chord. We're going to do a pluck, but I'm plucking strings 2, 3, and 4. My hand came off the fretboard, and then I hammered on that whole A minor chord. Like that. So let's go back to the beginning of the A minor. And then after I've hammered on, click, bass note. And then this sounds very similar to what I did for the E minor part. My pinky comes back to the 3rd fret 2nd string. But I keep the A minor chord there, so. And again, I'm plucking strings 2, 3, and 4. Then the 1 string. There's the mute. Slid back up to the 5th fret 2nd string. So. After I hit that, low 5th string, and then just to mix it up a little bit, I threw in the 3rd fret 1st string there. And now, I should have mentioned this, but these notes are not just random notes that I just randomly picked. When I was coming up with this, I knew the chords. I got your E minor, your A minor, and I knew that this would be in the key of E minor. So I just went in my head, instead of getting all complicated, I just stayed in the E minor pentatonic scale. So if I were playing lead, that's where I'd be. So that's in essence what you're doing here, is you're playing a rhythm part. There's your rhythm, but then you're playing some lead stuff. And so in my head, I was just visualizing the minor pentatonic scale pattern 2, which is, and I apologize for no fret markers on this guitar, but I got the 5th fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret. That's pattern 2. So any of those notes are going to work, and then pattern 1 is here. Right? So the bridge or the nut becomes our root if you think of it that way. Okay, so that's why when we're in the A minor and I play those notes, that's why they work. They're right out of that pattern too. Okay, so that's the A minor part. And then we go to the B7 part. This is really cool. I love this groove, especially that. So I'm trying to keep that motif going of hammering on, just like we did for the E minor and the A minor. I'm playing a B7 chord here. I'm going to assume you know how to do that. And I'm on playing with my thumb on the 5th string. Then there's the 4th string. Now we're going to do that little frailing technique where we use the back of the fingernails. Back to the 5th string. And then watch this. So I keep these two fingers, my ring finger, my middle finger, and I take my index finger off. I'm plucking strings 4 and 3 with my right hand. And I'm doing a hammer on just with, instead of doing the whole chord like we did for the other two, just doing that one note. Thought that sounded pretty cool. Okay. Another mute, another 5th string. And for that, I keep the B7 chord, but I take my pinky and I come up to the 3rd fret 1st string, and I kind of bend it a little bit, and then I go to the 2nd string, both on the 3rd fret there. Now pay attention to where the thumb comes in. And when I hit that, by the way, I hit strings 2 and 3 with these two fingers. And then I slid right back to where we did before, which is the 5th fret 2nd string. So let me play that B7 part. And then once I come here, I go back to the 6th string with the E note. Alright, so that's a lot of information. I realize the easiest way, I think, to learn this after you understand the cadence and everything and go through this would be to go back and look at the tablature. So, alright, let me start it from the beginning then, and I'll play slowly up to that point. Okay, hit the low 6th string there. Now watch this. I keep my pinky down. It works out perfect because these other fingers fall right into place to make a E minor chord. Make an E minor chord, I should say. So that works out very convenient for the pinky to be there. Now you can see what I'm doing from a fingering perspective. I've got my index finger on the 3rd fret 1st string there, and then my pinky's there on the 2nd fret, or sorry, the 5th fret 2nd string, and then I've got my middle finger there on the 4th fret 3rd string. Ring finger goes down the 5th fret 4th. It's another way to make an E minor chord. Now what's cool about this chord, and this is a takeaway I guess, as you play minor chord, you can slide this chord up 2 frets and then back to where it started. When I go up to there, I'm actually playing, and I put it in the tab, that would be an A6 chord with an E in the bass. But just think of it as a slidable chord. If you're playing something with a, so like here's an A minor chord, you can go up 2 frets. And it has a cool feel to it. So I always kind of do that if I'm, especially if I'm playing rhythm and I'm playing a minor chord. And so that's what I did for that. And the groove of it stayed the same. It's just the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Back and forth between that E minor chord and then the depends on how you look at it, the A6 with the E in the bass. Okay. And each time I was playing those, by the way, yeah, I guess that's important to mention. I've got my thumb on the low 6th string, which is creating that bass note. Okay, now the second time through, I'm going to save that for the part 2 video. There's a lot of similarities, but there are a few little changes, and then there's a whole other section that goes into that other groove. But those are going to be covered in the part 2 video. Alright, let me back up now. Hopefully this makes sense, everything, and I'll play through it. You have one more version here that'll be a slow playthrough, so you can resort back to watching this if that's what you got. Okay, here we go. And that is part 1.